this episode, we touch down in London. We spend time with the great British artist Maggi Hambling and her legendary and controversial public sculptures. We hit a couple of splendid women-owned British pubs. First, to talk period equity with Susan Allen, co-founder of Here We Flow. Then to dive into Sunday roast and travel communities with Solo in Style founder Deborah Ives. We eat our way through an epic cheese market with food stylist Kristina Conway. And we dive into the crucial contributions of the Windrush generation to post-war British Reconstruction as a new experiential museum breaks ground at Royal Museums, Greenwich. But first, let's get a traditional Asian medicine treatment at the Tuina clinic to cure my jet lag and soothe my menopause symptoms. Welcome to the WTAF Show, London.
So there's 17,000 black cab drivers in London, and yet only 453 are females.
Wow!
So like, I hold that record.
Yay!
To be a black cab driver, you have to do a test called the Knowledge, and they say it's the hardest taxi test in the world. It took me 4 years to learn the Knowledge. You learn every street, every road, every no left turn, no right turn. You don't need GPS system because it's all in your head. And that's what, so once you pass your map test, you go for appearances where you see a cab driver, like an examiner who is a cab driver. And they're testing you on what you've learned, your points of interest, which are your hotels, your restaurants, your hospitals. It's crazy. And they say with black cab drivers that the front part of your brain, the hippocampus, physically grows.
Yes, physically grows. Yes. So explain the economics on this. You own this cab.
So you've got two options when you're a black cab driver. Once you've got your badge, that's yours forever. Every 3 years you will go for a medical, you will go for your criminal record check, and you either get the option to rent a cab off a garage or you buy. So I did, when I started off, I rented, because obviously you just want to get a feel for it, and then decided, rather than paying however much a week, which these tend to be about $350 to $390 a week to rent, do you know what? I'm going to invest that into this is my business. So I will then, I bought it and this is mine.
That is so fantastic.
You're your own boss. You work your own hours. So if I've got 3 daughters, so it fits in with family life. So if my daughter's phoned me and like, Mum, can you come out? Lovely, I can turn my light off and I'm coming home. You do not know where the day is going to take you. Oh, thank you guys.
So
Lovely
much.
to meet you.
Hello, Mariana.
Good morning.
It's nice to be back on your couch, on your bed.
Good stuff.
God. Listen, you're getting me at my roughest. I'm jet lagged. I'm deep into menopause, and I really need this treatment.
Okay, so can I have a quick look at your tongue? Okay, all right. Let's see what we can do for you. So, with the acupuncture, I'm going to help with some of your menopausal symptoms, so some endocrine stuff. I'm going to do some kinesiology for your jet lag, get you back your circadian rhythms. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this? Like, I know you have been treating me for years between here at London and in Jamaica. But I haven't asked you how long you've been doing traditional Chinese medicine.
Well, I've been doing body work and health work, I guess, now for coming up to about 25 years in total. I wouldn't say I just do traditional Chinese medicine, which is TCM. I do something now I call TEAM, Traditional East Asian Medicine, or TAM, Traditional Asian Medicine. How are you doing here?
I'm doing good. You have a very light touch, which is amazing. Yeah. I mean, you can put hundreds of needles in my body anytime, Mariana.
Well, if you look at the ear, it's like an upside down fetus. So I'm actually looking at your whole body at the same time. So it's very close to the brain. So we're touching the hypothalamus, which is like your thermostat for the body. Mm-hmm. So we can look at, is your cooling system working? Your kidneys, your bladder? Is your heating system working? Your liver, your heart? So these can be the things, as you're saying, through menopause, perimenopause.
Yeah.
The hot flashes, the mood swings. So this is what we're looking at.
Are you treating a lot of women with menopause and perimenopause symptoms? How does this modality help women who is going through the change?
Well, we look at changes, I suppose, like seasons. Mm-hmm. We can look at the menopause as we're going through an autumn time, yeah? Mm-hmm. And we should sort of appreciate all these changes. So just like I said, we're targeting brain, which is secreting the hormones, the pineal glands. We start looking at things like your tongue, right, your diet, your lifestyle. So all of these things within Asian medicine, we can't just say treat the symptoms. We look at the cause, we look at, emotions, that has a big part to play in it, your hormones, your diet. Are you looking after yourself? In the summertime, which would have been our younger years, did we play a good role in that? Did we prepare for our autumn time? Did we prepare? And these things, I suppose, as women, we should pass down these things that we learn. And we've kind of lost that part of nature. We've got to go back to it. Yeah.
So what I love about the Asian perspective of medicine, it's, as you were saying, it's more holistic. It's your emotions. It's, how you're moving your body or not moving your body. It's what you're intaking. So it's not just, okay, because, in the West, it's more, you have cardiologists, you have endocrinologists, you have foot doctors, eye doctors. But Asian medicine is more of a holistic approach. It's the external. Definitely.
Yeah. So if you're not looking, do these things serve us? We get to an age, do the things that we did as we were younger and accepted as we were younger, does it serve us? No, it doesn't anymore. So we can have the strength, the self-esteem, definitely the self-esteem to push forward and go, okay, no, let's look, are we treating ourselves right? Are we taking the time? We don't anymore. We're 24/7 lifestyle, and as women we're supposed to work, have children, do all of these things. But are we really supposed to do all of these things?
That's the question.
Yeah, it's the question. That's a big question. So take a chance to step back and look, what are we supposed to be doing? Enjoying life, yes, but are we supposed to be driving ourselves 24/7? I don't think so.
No, ma'am.
No. So it's good that you're lying down for a bit.
When I first viewed the 2012 Wall of Water series, I fell madly in love with the bold, nonconformist, and dare I say punk aesthetic of artist Maggi Hambling. The first artist in residence in 1980 at the National Gallery, Maggie's works are represented in all major British collections. She is equally treasured and censured, especially for her public sculptures.
Did you know the composer?
No.
You didn't?
No.
What was inspirational about him for this piece?
I remembered all the stuff had been in the papers about Aldeburgh not wanting any memorial to its greatest son. And I got very cross, maybe very angry. And so I thought, right, I'll do something myself. Mm-hmm. So I began, and the shell just came to me because, when you're a child, you put a shell to your ear and you can hear the sounds of the sea. And also it's a symbol of love and pilgrimage. Anyway, from the road, there it's just sort of standing, this rather large shell. And from this side you get the whole explosion of it. Because you see, I think that's what Britain did with, it got classical music by the neck and, wrung its neck and produced his own voice from it, and so it's supposed to be a sort of echo of what I feel about Britain's music. And I've lately had a couple of letters from old ladies who have said, would I mind if when they die their ashes are put on a rocket and sent off across the sea at Scallop. So I've written back and said, no, I wouldn't mind at all. And people have got married here and there have been funerals here and people come a lot to see it. And I think the people of Aldeburgh who are so against it in the first place they of course would be very cross if it was taken away now, because I think they've finally realised they sell a lot of fish and chips and ice creams on the back of this, you know.
Scallop isn't the first sculpture that failed to meet sensible public or art world expectations. When A Conversation with Oscar Wilde was unveiled in 1998, a critic's review in The Independent got to the point. It's got to go. Thankfully, it didn't. A sculpture for Mary Wollstonecraft, commemorating the 18th century feminist writer, shook the public in 2020 when unveiled in North London. Maggie's testament to every woman flew over the heads of most critics and viewers.
I think 12 artists were asked to submit an idea for a thing for Oscar Wilde, and it was very important to me that he wasn't sort of highfalutin on a pedestal, looking camp or something, because he was very much a man of the people. And so the idea is, you can sit on the sarcophagus and have a chat with him, and he's still 3 times the cigarette has been removed.
Seen that.
And then with Mary Wollstonecraft, I mean, it was the feminists who objected to it.
Which is ironic.
I mean, don't they have bodies, feminists? I mean, heaven knows.
I thought the Mary Wollstonecraft made perfect sense. It was because it's not, of.
Well, Oscar Wilde said, when the critics are divided, the artist is at one with himself, which I think is a pretty good thing. But one of the best things to come out of that was my friend, the writer, Paul Bailey. He always watches the Channel 4 news. And on that Tuesday, when it sort of hit the world, he rang me about 3 minutes past 8 and said, well, he said, you have put the pussy among the pigeons this time. He said, never mind scallop. And I was leaving a Waitrose supermarket in Saxmundham with my trolley full of stuff, and one of the cheery Suffolk women gave me a big grin and said, been making trouble again, I see. I mean, I don't set out to make trouble, I don't set out to be controversial, but it seems to happen. So that means it's got a bit of life to it, I suppose.
How much have you thought about, or not, in terms of like the digitalization of your artwork?
What happens is you go to somewhere and you just take a selfie in front of it. You don't look at the thing at all, you don't experience it. The great thing is just to prove that you've been there for a couple of seconds. So I've refused to have anything to do with computers my whole life.
I'm not going to ask her to take a selfie with me to prove that I was here with Maggi Hambling. Just saying it. Not going to do it. Not going to ask her. But you're right. I mean, I've been looking at this for years online. It's very different seeing it in a tangible place and seeing how others are reacting to it. The memorial pieces, Clive's stone, the dog peeing on it over there.
I know. It's made for everyone, dogs and all.
Maggie once said, the sea is like time. You can do nothing about it. Death will come, the sea will come. It's a metaphor for life. For 2024, Maggie has a new body of work, The Night, on exhibition through mid-May 2024 in Hong Kong. The Gladstone Arms is a long-standing pub south of London Bridge, now operated by Megha Khanna, where she serves up excellent pours and pub fare with a terrific Indian twist. We met up at the Arms for some nosh with Susan Allen, an entrepreneur who, with her partner Tara Chandra, launched the organic feminine products line Here We Flow. We see no problem whatsoever with a conversation about tampons while eating and drinking our hearts out, and neither should you.
This is a very fitting scenario. We have a team of 14 incredible women, all foodies. So we spend so much of our time eating food together. So this was the fastest yes I've ever given for any invite.
It's really interesting because I never grew up hearing about organic tampons, organic sanitary pads, right? And you want to trust the things that you're inserting inside your body, and it was just a given, or it is just a given for many people, right? It is still a given. And I find when I started learning about organic products, I felt robbed. I honestly felt robbed. I felt so disappointed. And then you know, you go internal like, well, why didn't you ask questions? Why didn't you do this? But because it's just not out there, that information isn't out there. I'm so glad that you and your company are doing what you can to spread that word.
Yeah, that's what was really shocking for us is like we found out in doing research, you didn't have to put ingredients on the product. So you would never know because the ingredients list wasn't on the box. So it was very much like a side hustle until the end of 2019. We got an account with Boots here, which is like a CVS.
You like that place?
And so that's when we raised our first round of like seed funding, hired our first 2 people, and closed in February 2020. And then the world shut down, including UK retail. But luckily we got pulled into sort of like organically into the US, the Pacific Northwest. Urban Outfitters wanted to do like a short-term collab with us. So we set up like a warehouse out there and got everything set up and then started selling into the natural channels up and down the West Coast. And so just built very organically in that way. And now we're with Whole Foods, full chain in the US. And on this side of the pond, we're in like Boots, Superdrug. We're actually very exciting, launching with our first grocer on Monday. We're launching with Tesco, which is the biggest supermarket.
That's
yeah.
That's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
that's what's been taking up my time since the start of the year, but really excited for that. The vision is really to be everywhere that you see any other conventional brand to give people that sustainable swap.
You've been living here for a number of years, and I wanted to take me on that journey. Like, how did you end up here as an expat in London? You know, with Montserrat as your cultural roots, island girl here, Jamaican. So let's hear a little bit about that.
So funny enough, like I grew up knowing that I had British citizenship. It didn't mean anything until I came to study. But my mom is the last of 10 children, and 3 of her older siblings settled here. So I still have cousins in Wales that I haven't met yet. Yeah, so when I came to study, it was actually really comforting because I got to reconnect with my family and just felt really comfortable. So even after my first module here, I went back home to my husband and like, yeah, we need to move to London.
So what's it like being an expat in London? Or do you consider yourself an expat, by the way?
I am. I mean, I don't have the accent. It's really funny because I have my British passport. When I'm traveling and I give it to them and then they hear me speak, they're just very confused.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
What I've learned in even traveling around Europe is that you do have a sort of American privilege where you're treated differently even from other black people who they see from immigrants from Africa or other places. So I think it's pretty comfortable, and I think since I had my son and just being really conscious of all the gun laws or lack of gun laws in the US, it's also felt much more safer being here and raising him here.
No Sunday is complete without a proper roast. The Brits do roast meats very well. Solo in Style founder Deborah Ives met up with us in Clapham at one of her favorite spots, Rose and Crown, for a delicious roast meat dinner with towering Yorkshire puddings. Deborah curates a Facebook page dedicated to solo female travelers over the age of 50. She started the group after her divorce to share her experience globetrotting the world. With almost 500,000 members, Solo in Style proves that solo women travelers isn't a fad, and that is total badass.
You know, we're following our yes. And I'm curious to know, what was your moment of yes that made you create?
My moment of
Yeah, your moment of yes that created Solo in Style. What led you to where you are now?
So that was after I came back from my first ever solo holiday, which I had been thrown into because my husband literally walked out overnight, and we had a holiday to Malaysia booked, 3 weeks in Malaysia, going to Borneo to see the orangutans. I'm a big scuba diver, so we were scuba diving, all this, and he'd gone. And I'm like, well, screw this, we're not losing our deposit, I'm going to go on this holiday on my own. So I went on my own. And
Was this your first time going on your own?
yeah, it was, yeah.
It was.
And in fact, I'm so annoyed because on the very last leg of my trip, I dropped my camera overboard on the coming back from the island with Zipper Dance. So no photos of it at all. So it just has to live on in my mind. But then when I got back, I'm like, well, there must be other women doing this. And I was Googling and looking around, I couldn't find anybody. So I just kind of thought, well, I'll start to blog or what, you know. And I think when we're talking now, this must be about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And people were cottoning on to the fact about solo female travels, and particularly this over 50 age, because up until then there'd be the 1830 club, there'd been like the up to 40.
Yeah.
And I think people suddenly realise, hey, a lot of these women have got a disposable income, they want, you know, they want to travel in style. So I just started my blog, and then I started eventually my Facebook group, and there was literally like 200 people in it for the longest time. There was me and my sister and my friends, and then just before COVID, and it just did a hockey stick.
Yeah.
And we kept going through COVID. I made it a no COVID zone, so no one was allowed to talk about COVID. But everyone talked about, you know, what can I see from my window? This is where I live. Look how brilliant it is.
Yeah, local travel.
I'm planning this for when we can travel again. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. So in the meantime, this whole momentum has really...
Yeah.
Every newspaper you pick up now, I mean, every woman's magazine is all solo travel.
It's the latest, hottest genre, right? So even when you're booking tours now with different travel companies, the latest thing that I'm seeing is solo female travelers. Tour companies are basing themselves only on women travelers.
Because it is different. I mean, I do believe that there are differences in how we travel, and I'm not sure whether it's necessarily a female thing or maybe an age thing, but I know I traveled differently to when I was married and traveling with my husband.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And I think as you get older, I mean, there's some ladies in my group. There was one this week who was like 88. I'm like, you do worry about different things, and you do, you know, you do kind of have to be perhaps slightly more prepared or whatever it is. So I mean, I do think it requires a separate conversation. It's not just, you know, we're not 18, we're not 30, we're not, you know, we're kind of a little bit.
We've been talking about this, our intrepid crew that we're traveling with today was talking about, let's do a train ride from Chicago to an Amtrak train ride from Chicago to San Francisco. And I said the only train ride I'm interested in is luxury train ride, and I want to be on Orient Express.
Right.
But like, if I was in my 20s, heck yeah, I would do something like that.
Exactly.
But now at a different stage of life, when I travel solo, I tend to stick to more hotels rather than home sharing, just for the security aspect. But if I'm with a group of friends, where I prefer being in a home sharing space, as opposed to a hotel, because that's quite sterile. But by myself, I prefer the security of a hotel.
Yeah, I mean, hotel, I think it depends, doesn't it, where you're going. And I would always choose a smaller, more like family run.
Yes, me too.
And then everyone's really friendly, and then you feel like you're part of the family, and that's really nice.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, we should just thank Deborah for being with us.
Oh no, thank you.
Let's tally up.
Thank you for inviting me, and so lovely to meet you guys. And good luck with everything. I just love what you're doing. I know you'll be a huge success. I know it.
Thank you.
In 1948, the British Nationality Act gave people from the British colonies the right to work and live in England. The government needed workers to help fill post-war labor shortages to rebuild Britain's economy after World War II. People from the Caribbean responded in droves and moved to England for a better life. My grandmother Philomena was one such person. The mother country now needed help. However, the grim realities of life in England was a rude and cold awakening for many migrants from the Caribbean. Denize Leadette is the Windrush Museum's director, and as she puts it, the contribution of the Windrush generation is a living history 75 years on.
So for me, in terms of the original pioneers, Windrush generation, they came to the UK to rebuild a broken Britain, predominantly coming from the Caribbean islands where there was already a history of Britain. Most of them were British colonies at the time. And so people came here to help rebuild what they perceived as the mother country. And there were always narratives about the streets being paved of gold. And so there were many ships that came, but the Empire Windrush ship is one that was recorded and highlighted as very significant. And people came for many reasons. Some people came for 5 years. That was a common aspiration, that people came for 5 years, said they would work, generate some capital, go back home.
So was that something that the government had put in place, or it was just an intention, like generally, you know, among our people, like, I'm just going to go for 5 years, make some money, and come back home?
Yeah, certainly all the experiences that I've heard of, the intention was a personal intention. People said, I'm just going for 5 years and come back. Well, of course, 75 years later, that clearly is not the case, you know, so many people stayed. And a lot of that, my understanding, certainly my lived experience and some of the conversations with my parents and their peers, were that the housing was the issue. That's one of the reasons a lot of people stayed. They came, they couldn't get housing, and so at the first opportunity, they bought houses, and then they stayed to honor the debt.
And you bring a really unique perspective because you are a fine artist, you are a product of the Windrush generation, and you are in your professional capacity as a director. And you're telling me also that in a conversation earlier that this is the unique perspective of the Windrush Museum. The board has lived experiences that it's not coming together as a museum from, you know, like the Met or something else.
For me as an artist, I had been working on a body of work. My father died in 2010, and I had not seen that level of grief in someone before when I looked at my mother. And to me, she was just like I created a piece of work that was called A Butterfly with a Broken Wing, because that's what she was to me. So I created this work to give her something of him, because there was just a void, you know. So in creating this piece of work, it was my way of saying, look, Mum, I've just sort of pulled together the fragments of him to give you something that's concrete. Here you are. So I created this piece of work and I gave it to her, and she sat with it for a while. And then, being my mother, she said, listen, you have to share this because it can help other people, you know? So I said, okay. So I sent it to some of my friends, and they're like, oh, that reminds me of my mum, my aunt, this, all these people, because of the way that the work was. And all I was trying to do was just capture fragments. So essentially I was doing what I'm doing at the museum, but at a micro level, just trying to bring the fragments together to make sense of the curating his life, essentially. You know, who was he, how was he, what was his journey? So that was a micro translation into those stories and narratives that they would never release. Very personal insight into their journeys, things that had happened. And that's when I understood the scale of the sacrifice. Because I'm not going to lie and say I really understood it. I just thought, yeah, they're just doing what they're doing. But then I began to see, no. This sacrifice is major.
Massive.
So there was a personal impetus to make sure that that sacrifice was not lost.
Yeah.
And that people would remember that, remember the contribution, because that contribution is the ripple effect. They came, they contributed, and changed the face of an entire nation.
What's the kind of art that you see that's celebrating or even discussing points of discussion around the Windrush generation and the contributions?
Well, we are still in Windrush 75 because it doesn't really finish until June the 21st, 2024. So we're still in Windrush 75. And throughout this period of time, there have been many artistic translations of Windrush. And right now, the National Windrush Museum and Royal Museums Greenwich has a Windrush artist residency. So we've just appointed and will have in place 2 Windrush artists who will be translating, and they're both next gen, and they will be doing their translation. They'll be engaging with the collections here at the Maritime, but through a Windrush lens. And so that's going to be really exciting, and that's a first, but it's a manifestation of the relationship between the two museums, that we have this Windrush residency to move things forward.
I love following food stylist reels on Instagram and TikTok. Kristina Conway, a Lithuanian-born advertising executive who married my friend and favorite Brit Shane, launched her Hide My Veggies food channel on Instagram during the pandemic, a cheeky nod to her husband's rather picky palate. We met Kristina in the quaint London borough of Chiswic, home on Sundays to the Chiswic Cheese Market, or as I like to call it, heaven, to shop for her next Hide My Veggies reel.
So what makes Chiswic special to you, this cheese market?
There's like, we have food markets, we have everything like that, but cheese market is the only one. But what is cool that the local producers just come with it's not just cheese anymore, so we have like different cuisines, we have like wine, we have balsamic and all that stuff, so it's really cool.
Wow.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's amazing. I think this is my favorite.
Even see that it's almost like...
Are you going in for round 2?
Are you? Yeah?
Yes.
This one's the pecorino. Pecorino and the fig, and this is also very nice on ice cream.
Ice cream, that's the one for the ice.
This is my favorite combination.
I love the cheese.
Yeah.
This one is delicious. It's smoked mozzarella. Have you ever tried?
I've had smoked mozz, but not served up like that.
It's so good and goes so well with everything. If you want to add just a little bit more smokiness, love it.
This is the Sicilian oranges.
What do you think?
The orange is amazing. It's probably the best tasting orange I've ever had.
Oh my god, now you smell it.
Those are really good. For an orange, it's just...
Oh, great. Now.
Yeah.
Got me.
Hey.
Hello.
So basically we have the best feta ever, which is this one. Can I have 2, please?
Yes.
Card, please. I have like double portion of that.
There we go. So that's without the pork.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What is that sauce you have?
Sriracha.
Oh.
Just a little bit.
There's also Tabasco too.
Don't take too much cheese.
There's no such thing as too much cheese.
Where is the beef sharing? Can I try that more?
You can absolutely try.
I'm so happy.
Oh. That is really good.
Oh my god. So, can I have 1 balsamic?
Yeah.
And tomatoes as well?
Which one's cherries?
Yes, please.
So have you done anything with it?
Oh yeah. So I did it in my sauces. I just pour in a sauce. Yeah. So what I did, I bought these ones as well. So I used oil to fry my chicken with that, and then I used this tomato sauce with this one, divine. So can I have blue cheese, please? Do you want to try blue cheese?
It's delicious. That's something special right there. I think this is my favorite so far.
It's so good.
Talk a little bit about what brought you to England.
I feel like all this interview is going to be a lot of dedication to Shane. So we met in Brussels and we did like 2 years long distance, and then somebody needed to make a move. And his Lithuanian language is not the greatest, let's put it that way, so I had to make that move and come here to London. And yeah, I've been here for the last 7 years already.
Thank you for showing us this market, this
I'm so happy you liked it.
amazing fucking market.
What's your stash?
What's all the cheese?
What's the stash?
So we have feta cheese, olives, we have best tomatoes in London, or actually UK. We have balsamic and a lot of different cheeses. So burrata and blue cheese. Oh yeah. And Parmesan cheese.
Okay, and so what happens next is you're going to take all of these ingredients.
Yes.
And you're going to make something for Hide My Veggies.
Oh yeah.
And we can't wait to see it.
I have been under London's spell since 1986 at age 15. The pixie dust has never shaken off, and this time has shown once again what makes this city so great: its constant state of adaptation and evolution. We think it's why it will continue to stand the test of time. We love you, London, and of course we'll be back, because you're always calling.